Well, let's try this again. Hey, it's Chris, also known as the DeFi Professor. This is after the show. Sometimes I'll do this every so often if I have some additional time to kind of go over. Oftentimes, there's part of the agenda for our weekly TVL podcast that I don't get to do because we ran out of time or just wasn't the right vibe to do so. So that's pretty much what this one is about today. Unfortunately, we had some pretty unfortunate uh, technical difficulties. So I want to say thanks again to Uche from Starknet Espresso for being our panelist today. Make sure you follow him. I'll make sure his socials are on the original TVL post that's on my Twitter today. But he had a hard time connecting to the live streaming platform, so he tried Zoom, which is not something I had done before, using Ecamm Live, and it was a mess. But we got through. And the other part was I was on GM Farcast earlier today, so shout out to Professor, the Nanish Professor, and to Rachel Wilkins, who's filling in for Adrian on that show today, Mother of Unicorns. I dropped twice, which is crazy because I just got fiber. And so I'm just like, I have 2 gigs up and 2 gigs down. How am I just continuously dropping? And it wasn't until I was like halfway through the TVL show, like a whole 90 minutes later, that I realized that my VPN was still on from the day before, well, early this morning I was doing some research, and well, unfortunately in our group, in our industry, there's a lot of sites that aren't available to U.S. residents. I'm a U.S. resident, so that is that's kind of where that went. So lesson learned. And actually, to be fair, I've done this before because I have to host calls with our membership. We have our membership calls, and I'll be going to websites that require a VPN vacation, if you will, for certain reasons. And I don't ever have an issue. So it could be with the VPN provider, not sure. But when I use my original VPN, I just recently switched thanks to Black Friday. A lot of great Black Friday deals on VPNs and a variety of other tools. So I happen to switch on that account. So maybe the grass isn't greener on the other side, right? We'll see. All right, let's head to. We didn't get a chance to even do any of the news outside of looking at bubbles for like a quick second, right? So let's kind of look at where we're at. Let me pull up that screen so I'm on the same screen as you guys. My big noggin is covering over Dash. WorldCoin, interestingly is up quite a bit, 11. River, which we talked about last week, didn't know a whole lot about. Know a little bit more about River. It did go back. It did go up quite a bit, then came crashing back down. Hype back up above $30. That's a bullish sign. Gold, of course, is going to be up right now because gold is just crazy. And you know what the funny part is? I saw this right before I went live. I'm seeing a lot of people, talk about gold, and they're like, just buy the physical thing. And I'm just like, you kind of can't. You can, but it's not the easiest thing to go and do. Ultimately, if you're going to be playing this game in DeFi or at CEXs with XAUT or some of these other gold-backed coins, you're doing it for the exposure. CC, as I've been very bullish on them, as you guys have known for quite some time. I talk about it on our calls all the time. Up 6.3. This is the word. You guys don't sleep on that. Pax G, which is Paxos's gold coin. Been around forever. Also up on the news with gold. Gold just smashing through 5K. Way before ETH did. All right, I'm not going to rub that in. I'm not a gold bug, guys, but anyway. 00 is up 6.5 as well. So, good news for them. They're kind of regressed a bit, but there's a lot. There's bids out there. That's the whole point. If you're curious about it. Again, I'm not sure why WorldCoin is back up on. My God, look at that God candle. Interesting. But there's a lot of bidding going on. No change in the rates in terms of the Fed decision. They're not cutting rates. In fact, the point that I saw from the summary is that they are halting rate cuts. So likely the one in December from Chairman Powell is the last rate cut that you're probably going to see from this man as Fed chair. Now his term ends at the end of May. And Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, has already said that a successor is going to be named immediately, soon. It's impending. We'll see exactly how this goes, right? Because it's normally an economist, a really well documented economist. Chairman Powell, for those guys who doesn't remember, is President Trump's pick. His original appointee. He wanted someone who was going to come in and was a data-driven Fed chair. Guess what? He was. And regardless of how you feel about Chairman Powell, President Trump was not kind to that man. But he's doing what he has to do to live up to the data that he was originally, brought in to do. And he's going to be a Fed governor until 2028. So this will be a very interesting ride moving forward. We'll go ahead and move on. The one thing that I was trying to talk to Uche about was this was on Brave as an ad. And this is about CAPE, because we were talking about privacy for a little bit. He's actually a bit of a privacy specialist. So, we talked a little bit about the idea that companies own your data. And that's where Web3 comes in, right? The ability for you to own your data in all facets. Not just custodying assets, but being able to own your medical data, your personal data, your citizenship data. I would love to, if anyone is in Buenos Aires who's a citizen of Buenos Aires that wants to reach out, talk to me about the fact that they now have digital citizenship in Buenos Aires, where they actually will release to you your information and they don't track it anymore. I definitely want to know what that's like. But the idea that there's a mobile carrier that will give you service, 5G service, and they don't track you. I mean, obviously they're going to track you from a signal standpoint, but all of this stuff, they will probably get the minimum, right? But apparently they're not going to keep any of this stuff. Oh boy. Look at that. YouTube titles, texts, specific to FA, app usage. I can tell you I worked for a data broker for many years. They know all this information already. It's sold. It's sold quickly. And things that you don't realize are sold. Pending orders on utilities, voting records, change of address information. That is all sold. Handily, by the way. And while they may not know who you are directly, at least they say that they don't. Let's be honest. They've got a record on all of us. So that's why I think Web3 and self-custody is so important, because you have the ability, at least from a sovereignty standpoint, from a privacy standpoint, that you can own not just your data, but how it's used. And I think that's a very important part of it. So I don't know a whole lot about this company, but co-founder of CrowdStrike. Oh boy. It's been almost 18 months since that happened, right? Something like that? Since the CrowdStrike issue? Wow. You get 2 free additional last mile encrypted lines for $99 a month with getting it for $30 for the first month. It's not a bad idea if you're very privacy conscious, if you are quite paranoid about your privacy. And I know multiple people in our group, in our mastermind, in our community, and just people in my circles that would eat this up. Rotates your IMSI every 24 hours. That is wild. All right. I'm curious. Now, my guess is that this is a US only thing now. That would be my guess. I can tell exactly from this map that this is most likely, oh, it looks like it might be a Verizon map. Or it could be an AT&T map. It's this part that I'm not too sure about. And actually, this could be a T-Mobile Sprint SoftBank map. But my guess is that this is a Verizon map. That's my guess. Interesting. But for $99 a month, is that something that you'd be interested in? Let me know. Cape.co. I'm going to reach out to them actually, because I would like to have a conversation with them, because this is fascinating. Granted, this is not specifically DeFi or crypto, but it's still, for, privacy is a very important part of what we talk about here. Security is a big part of what we talk about here. So for those who want that, that sovereignty, that self-sovereignty, to be able to own your own data and all this type of stuff, this could be a pretty big game changer overall. Yeah, they've got decent coverage. Now the issue is going to be if you travel. Let's see their FAQs. One thing to note, if you use like a main provider, and they might have changed, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they do have I believe it's a 6-month right of refusal, I guess, for unlocks, where they don't allow multiple SIMs. I think for sure if you don't own your phone outright, they have a case where they will turn this down. But at least for the first 6 months, yeah, you're not going to be able to use anything as a second line. I say this as shout out to Helium Mobile. Wanted to use their low cost lines. I ended up moving it to my Solana Seeker, but yeah, couldn't use it on my main line because I just recently, I think last May, I upgraded my phone to an iPhone 16 Pro Max. So family plans, this is probably not a thing that's happening. Yeah, they got to make money, guys. So one thing I can tell you is that a lot of this cellular stuff is highly subsidized. So how do private payments work? Oh, so they use Stripe as the gateway there. Interesting. Do you throttle or cap usage? Unlimited 5G and 4G data. However, if you use more than 50 gigs of data usage, we may temporarily slow. Right. Oh, I wonder if they're MVNO. Oh, there's a partnership with Proton. Ah, okay, so it is AT&T's map. My fault. Yeah, all right. Let's move on. Big news. Tether launched USAT. This is live as of yesterday. So here's the thing about USDT. Largest market cap for stablecoins in the world, right? I can go here to crypto for coin market cap. We can see that it's right there. USDT, number 4. Huge market cap. USDC catching up. There used to be a 75% domination for Tether. But, things change. Genius Act is kind of, eaten into that. And with regards to Tether, EU has rejected them. They're not going to be in the EU because they already have a market structure bill called MiCA, the markets in crypto and other assets framework, MiCA. So they don't allow Tether on there. Now, for Tether, they want to figure out a way to get into a large market. So they're trying to figure out how can I get into the US. One way was that Tron, which is the largest haven for USDT, that's Justin's son, went ahead and reverse merged into a company that's already NASDAQ listed. So now Tron is available as a U.S. publicly traded company. Still not enough to kind of, probably the timeline isn't long enough for Tether, in their opinion. So they went ahead and just created their own stablecoin that is regulation friendly. It is Genius Act compliant. It's through Anchorage Digital. And Anchorage is one of the few companies that has had a money issuing license since well into the Biden era. They're one of the few that's available. I think they're only available in 48 of the 50 states. I could be wrong. They could be in all 50 now. Shout out to the team at Anchorage, by the way. Met them in New York last year at Permissionless. But what's interesting here is that they, after Bo Hines, who was the head of crypto and digital strategies at the White House, something like that, he left. He resigned his post, and he became the executive director of Tether USAT. So this is the quote unquote American stablecoin. It's through Anchorage Digital, which also is part of Paxos's global dollar consortium. So I don't know if this is one of those deals. I think it's just USDG that benefits the entire consortium as a whole. I don't think USAT does this as well, but if it did, that'd be great. Oh, Cantor Fitzgerald serves as the designated reserve custodian and preferred primary dealer. These connections all make sense now. For those of you who don't know, the chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald is none other than the U.S. Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Skin in the game, right? I don't really know how different this is with regards to. My guess is just the reserve for USAT is much smaller, obviously, than USDT. So it's available on CEXs, on Bybit, Crypto.com, Kraken, OKX, and MoonPay. I guess we're going to have to wait and see specifically. How you can pay for this at businesses. Right now, this is all normal. You can do this with all stablecoins, but is there going to, and even here, this is, to me, the most important part of this is, are we going to be able to use USAT to pay for groceries? Can I use USAT as a payment option, for example, if I go to Walmart and use their OnePay app? Rather, the OnePay app, which is in contract with Walmart for their digital payments, because Walmart is notorious for always wanting to do things themselves. I thought that Walmart would come out with their own stablecoin. They still may, but this is definitely an option because the OnePay group that they use can accept 150 different types of cryptocurrencies for payment. So, will USAT be amongst that list? I guess we're going to find out to see exactly how that works out. One thing that was talked about at Las Vegas at BTC last year, 2024, and I did watch about 20 minutes of, Tether CEO Paulo Arduino talking about this, is, Tether is a very profitable company. I think for 2025, they might have lost a little bit, but like $5.5 billion for 2025 in net profit. They have less than 30 employees, guys. So that is a ridiculous amount of profit distribution. Amongst everybody there. And then who knows if they get that. But to their credit, after cleaning up all the backing and showing all of that for USDT, one thing they started doing was buying two things. US T-bills, which they own more than, 75% of the world. And the other is gold. Very smart, because they have this gold, this alloyed gold product, which is XAUT. They even have a stablecoin based off it called XAUT0, which you may want to check out if you're curious about a gold-backed stablecoin. They now hold 140 tons of gold. That's an astonishing amount, and a very interesting hedge, right? We'll see exactly where this goes, but the fact that they they buy 1 or 2 tons of gold per week, even at this, the highest level that gold has ever seen, and they hold 140 tons of it, is astonishing. I mean, they clearly have a ton of profit. Makes a lot of sense. How interesting would it be if they started selling that gold and got into Bitcoin? Not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. Could happen, right? All right. Next story we wanted to talk about, we didn't get to, Citria. Citria is a Bitcoin layer 2, although this may be down the road of the CoreDAO product, where CoreDAO is not technically layer 2, it's technically an Altel 1. Citria is kind of in that same boat. It is an application layer, bit of a roll-up with zero knowledge proofs. They got, I think, 14 million in funding last June, because it happened right before permissionless that they came out with this. Yeah, they raised a ton of money. So to see them, now live is good to see. You can get there if you want to check it out. app.citria.xyz is the and just looking at this dashboard. There's a couple ways to get there. Stargate is probably the fastest, which uses layer 0. As you can see, there's a layer 0 logo. There's also Hyperlane, and there's also, I'm guessing that's Squid Router. But apparently you can get there pretty cheaply. I'm sure Jumper, does Jumper go? Let's find out. Is it EVM based? It is EVM based. Actually, why did MetaMask not come up here? Okay, it did. Interesting. But let's check Jumper. Jumper is the cross-chain swap bridge that we recommend to most people in our groups. It's just the easiest one to use, in my opinion. So let's see if we're going. Let's go base. Let's see, ETH. And then let's go, I just want to see if it's here. I don't know if it is. I should have just started with that. Citria? Nope, it's not. Okay, so then Squid Router. That's bright. Let's go base, USDC. And let's go Citria, CBTC. Okay. Interesting. Low liquidity. All right, it's probably Stargate then. Stargate.finance, which is layer 0's liquidity layer. Layer 0 is just a it's just a messaging platform, right? Between different ecosystems. Stargate's the liquidity layer on top of it that executes those messages. So let's do this again. Let's go Arbitrum, USDC. Let's go Citria, AUSD0. All right, I'm gonna have to go. Oh, interesting. I can really. Plasma is an option. Fun. That's a layer 1. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. This is easy. That's fast. Yes, I know I don't have any of that. All right, what other options do we have here? So we have USDC.E, USDT.E. Where's that coming from? Okay, so I can only come. So with USDT.E, I can only come from the Ethereum. If I'm doing USDC.E, again from Ethereum. BTC.E. Okay. So AUSD 0. So AUSD Agora dollar from Van Eck is the official stablecoin of the Polygon Ag layer. That's going to be the way to go, in my opinion, if you don't want to go through mainnet. And you can. I mean, mainnet is, for the most part, fairly cheap right now. Very cool. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to look into Citria. I'm sure it will be lovely. Instead of all these haters that are in the comments. Since 2024, no rewards for testnet users. Oh, all you airdrop farmers, don't you know they don't owe you anything? They don't. All right. Now. JuiceSwap is also a platform you can get on. Let me look at. Let's look. I remember seeing this. I need to follow because I couldn't follow earlier. If you guys want, follow me please on Twitter. That way I can follow more projects. There's a cap. Did you know that? There's a cap. Yes, I know I follow a ton of projects because I do a ton of research. I research like 45, 50 hours a week in this space. Apparently there's a cap. Like I'm just under 3K followers and I only get 7501. I won't be able to follow anyone else. So if you could please follow. I will follow back as long as you're not a sex bot or anything. And that will help me be able to find more projects. Oddly enough, and this is my issue, and I'm not saying this to, because I know I'm privileged. I pay $40 a month for Twitter. Why is there a cap on how many people I can follow? If I'm paying you $40 a month, if I paid you $200 a month, I'm pretty sure that cap is still there. I think that cap is absolute bullshit. I'm not a bot. I'm here doing research. I'm trying to educate the community on things that I find weekly. Nikita Beer. So if you could hook a brother up, would appreciate to not be stuck at here so I can go check other projects. With that said, there is no easy way for me to unfollow people without having to pay an ungodly amount of money to some third party that has API access. That needs to change. I should be able to just filter my followers because I'm paying $40 a month, by the way. I should be able to, check out who exactly hasn't posted in a while, who might be if I see some that are just like for me personally, I would prefer to follow premium users. You don't have to be a premium user, right? But with the scenario that I'm in, I will follow people who pay for the check mark because that will lead me to the next part, which is subscriptions, which I need a little bit more for. But anyway, off the soapbox. Moving on. Ledger. $4 billion IPO is what it's looking like with Goldman Sachs, Jefferies, and Barclays. Listing could happen this year per Financial Times. This is I don't know if this is a can of worms that Ledger wants to open. Let's be honest. But what I will say, and with my bag as well, I prefer to back infrastructure. Is what Ledger is building wallet infrastructure? Is that infrastructure? Yes, to a degree. My issue with Ledger, and I've already talked to their head of North American product a couple times about this, is the fact that they still haven't open sourced anything. They don't have to open source everything, just the core stuff, right? Because when we recommend cold storage wallets, you can use whatever you want. But if you're farming in DeFi, you want to make sure that you use the one that's the most compatible. And right now it's Ledger. There's no debating that. It works as a wallet for farming on EVM, Solana, Cosmos, BTCFi, like all the layer 2s and the Altel ones that are out there. Yeah, it's supported by everything from a wallet standpoint. Trezor, supports Solana as an asset, but from a web wallet standpoint, they don't accept a Trezor connection yet. Maybe they will at some point, or maybe Ledger is just paying everybody to just tell Trezor to kick rocks. That's an unfounded claim. Do not clip me for that. But this could be a pretty interesting deal. The problem is that Ledger has to keep its nose clean. They've had the optics are there, right? They've been breached twice. And they pissed a ton of people off, including us, about just throwing in the coin cover recover stuff with no option to not upgrade your firmware with it. Yes, you can opt out of it, but it shouldn't be a threat vector is a threat vector. That's all that I have to say. Do it on a different product. Do it on the Ledger Nano S Plus. You're going to sell more of those anyway, right? $59 for a Nano S Plus now with all those fantastic colors. Same feature set for the most part as a Nano X. No real reason to buy it anymore. S Plus is the way to go. Put the coin cover on that because that's what most people are going to gravitate to because it's cheaper. They're the ones who are probably going to need more help on recovering their assets. For power users who get the Nano X, Stacks, Flex, make it an option. Make it an option. But I also know that upgrade flows can be a real pain in the ass. So I get it. All right. So we got the Fed decision. No change. No shock there. Do we have more a Fed decision for the next time? Yeah, like I said, in March. And we probably won't get one. Now, you can play these if you want. But I don't think you'll get anywhere with it. I mean, there's an 8% shot at this, right? You could play if you're looking to figure out a good arb. Is the government going to shut down on Saturday? And we didn't talk about this on the show, but this is something to consider as something you may want to look at as a problem. We'll see exactly what happens here. Because there's a line that's drawn in the sand. They're absolutely, the Democrats are not gonna budge on this DHS funding. Pretty sure. But we'll see. Let's move on. All right, so Vitalik put out this interesting tweet. And what I like about it is we're always looking for decentralized versions of things, right? Because the whole ethos of no one needs to own everything. There can be multiple ways to do it. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a reason why BitTensor exists and is profitable and is a bullish bet, in my opinion, for Tau. Because no one AI company should own everything, right? How about a whole network of AI product providers that can all be commodities, a marketplace for that? That's the promise of BitTensor, decentralized AI. In my opinion, that's the best way to be. Not everything in this space, AGI doesn't have to be a capitalist venture, in my opinion. Although I'm sure most people want to make money, right? Who doesn't? But looking at decentralized things for everything that he does on a daily basis, I thought was interesting. So he, instead of using decentralized, I think it's DDocs? DDocs? It's decentralized Google. So there's no, well, I don't know if it's exactly Google. Is that what it's called? DDocs? Is it 3Ds? I may have it wrong. Let me check the chat if anybody knows. If anybody in chat knows. I should probably... I forgot to broadcast on Farcast so that I'm live. 35 minutes now. My fault. I will find it. Give me 1 second here. I know it's not Fileverse. That's what it is. DDocs. I just had the thing wrong. Oh, it is from Fileverse. Okay. Well, that I don't know. See what? It's ddocs.new. All right, it's from Fileverse. I thought it was not the same. I was wrong. But anyway, if you haven't given it a try, I tried the Sheets one. It's pretty cool. So Fileverse.io, open source encrypted, decentralized docs platform. I think it's really interesting. I think it's free, but yeah, definitely good. I'm looking at it. He switched almost fully there, and he left Telegram to go to Signal. I don't know if I mean, it's up to him, obviously. Installed Simplex and Session. I'm not familiar with those tools. I did Signal for a little bit. I had a friend of mine who's on Signal. She never actually answered my messages because she never realized I was using Signal. But it's encrypted, right? There's news that WhatsApp is not truly encrypted end-to-end. So there's that. OpenStreetMap, organic maps.app for, and I'm guessing that there is I want to say that there is an app for one of these. But yeah. What is simple? Oh, Simplex. Simplex and Session. Got it. Oh, okay. It's a private, secure message. I'm gonna have to check this out. I'm always down to try new things. Nothing wrong with Telegram. They say it's encrypted end to end, but is it? Is it? We'll see. If you want to support a decentralized platform for this, you can go to HiveMapper, or what used to be called HiveMapper. It's called BMaps now. They sell it's DPIN, Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. They sell something called the BMapper. It sits on your dash as a cam, and then it like maps everything around you, much like the cars, the autonomous cars that drive around that map for Google Maps. There's that. So anyway, just some food for thought for those who are looking for like decentralized versions of tools. Like I said, I haven't used Fileverse all that much, but I think it's a great idea. Let's just check out fileverse.io so we properly look at them. So they have sheets and docs. I don't think they have one specifically for slides, but they have some experimentations here. That's cool. Storage. And one thing I will do a stream on at some point is ZKP2P. That's something I've been looking at quite heavily to learn a little bit more about how you could most likely bypass using a CEX, using the ZKP2P platform. There will be multiple groups providing on-ramps, but they use ZKP2P in the background. Now, I need to do more research into this, but the only thing that you have to worry about specifically is, you know, do you have someone on the other side who's actually giving you actual good liquidity? Because there's that. But it looks like so far it seems to be fine. Who is it? There's a couple of CEXs that have peer-to-peer matching. So if you wanted to off-ramp without going through places, if you know what I mean. Not saying that you're like bypassing things, but I'm just saying to eliminate the middleman, I guess would be the way to go about it. To not have to open a Coinbase, Kraken, Crypto.com, Binance, or whatever account to get your money down into DeFi. You can do that now, obviously, through things like MoonPay, Transact. Is Cato still a thing? No, they got acquired. So MoonPay, Transact, then there's a couple others, right? That you get charged like 4.5% for a USDC purchase from your bank account out to wherever. MoonPay, I think, also supports PayPal and Apple and Google Pay, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to that team. Would love to collaborate. Anyway, let's move on. Vlad Tenev wrote an interesting article. 5 years post GameStop, how are they going to prevent what happened with meme stocks? Long read, but one thing that was interesting is that he talked about tokenized stocks and how Clarity is going to be a big part of that. And what that all means. I think it's going to be a good thing once they figure out how everything is going to work. But this is the important part. They're going to unlock 24/7 trading and DeFi access, which will allow investors to self-custody their stock tokens with possibilities for lending, staking, and more. Yes, that's quite important. What he's not telling you here is it's going to be a walled garden, right? Because they're building their own, what we call CDeFi, centralized DeFi, their own version of DeFi. It's a layer 2 built on top of Arbitrum blockchain's tech on the Arbitrum Nova stack. Not Nova, Arbitrum 1. Orbit is the stack. He's going to make it so that only certain protocols will have access to what's being provided here. Some of the big ones will be good, right? Aave, Morpho, Euler, even Dolomite, Silo for these markets will probably be big targets. They're going to control what their users can actually use for staking. And we'll see exactly how this plays out. You'll have to be a Robinhood customer to use these services, right? But this is no different than what Coinbase does, what Binance does. At least in the case of Coinbase, all of their products that they're offering that quote unquote use loans, they go through DeFi, they go through Base, maybe through Morpho and Moonwell. But I think Robinhood's going to give you just the terminology that you're quote unquote in DeFi, even though you're technically in their version of DeFi, which is fine. It is what it is. And I realized that my screen did not change. So let's swap that back out. And again, this is Vlad Tenev's article. He's the CEO of Robinhood. So yeah, the fact that the thing is that they're bringing this to Europe first because Europe already has a market structure bill through MiCA, and then once Clarity passes in the US, then they'll bring it there. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Next thing on the thing that I wanted to talk about on the show today, they didn't get a chance to. Majority of the top US banks are now into Bitcoin. Okay. This will be a never. For retail users, never. For retail users, never. For most of these, for retail users, most likely never, unless you are a high net worth client. Then they'll talk, because last thing they want is high net worth clients coming to people like me, teaching them to do it for themselves and leave. PNC. Funny about PNC, they used to be one of the biggest, angriest banks if they saw that you had sent your money to somewhere like Coinbase. How interesting how these things pivot. BNY Mellon, this is going to be institutional. They have their own tokenized thing coming. They have their own perp dex coming, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we'll see exactly how this all works out. Now that Swift is a thing, the custody part probably will be available to high net worth clients, right? Because they're going to be able to get them more returns, which is something that they want. They want to be able to keep their big fish swimming in their pools, earning a little bit better than what they were, right? Because I know that, when people come to, when, our high net worth clients come to us and they're like, how can you give me better returns on this? Like, I can get you 6 to 10% on stablecoins. That's amazing. I can't believe that. Show me how. Will their bank do that? Probably not. It might be T-bond level, like 4 to 5, but that's way better than they probably got in the past. So we'll see how this works out. This one's big. Bitwise registers for a Uniswap ETF in Delaware, indicating a filing may come soon. So how do you process this? Is this a good thing for uni holders? For venerated uni holders who have been shit on by Uniswap for the last 6-7 years. I mean, the fee switch was voted to be turned on. Will this create positive momentum for Uniswap moving forward? Yeah, the answer is yes. So obviously none of this is financial advice, but would I pick up some uni off this news? Yeah, I probably would. I'd probably pack a little moon bag. Because if you know me, I like infrastructure. And if there's one thing Uniswap is building, it's infrastructure. They are building a moat, just like Jupiter is building a moat, to try and create a one-stop shop for everyday regular investors. Why? Because Uniswap is synonymous with the beginnings of DeFi. They're by far the lindiest protocol that we have in this space. It's the granddaddy. PancakeSwap was forked from Uniswap. SushiSwap was forked from Uniswap. They ended up vampire attacking. Yeah. Sorry, I just had a minute just to think back about my humble beginnings in this space many, many years ago. God, how things have changed. The idea that Uniswap actually has an ETF at this point. I don't think any of us, I'm sure Hayden Davis, who I met in New York, probably feels differently. But as the premier decentralized exchange in the entire EVM ecosystem, which now reaches Solana, would you have thought that an ETF on Wall Street would be happening in the year 2026? I wouldn't have. In a lot of ways, this is kind of the antithesis of what we wanted. But this is a bit of a transition. I mentioned this on the show today. It's a bit of a transition of what we wanted. There's going to be some centralized movements, yes. Will there be what we want in the long run? Yeah, probably. I mean, yes, because I believe in a lot of things. I believe that this is the future of finance. I believe this is the future of the way we're doing business. I believe in the flippening. I believe that, yes, ETH at some point will flip the price of Bitcoin. It says it's 10 years away. I think it's further than that, honestly. But it would not. I believe the world's going to run on Ethereum at some point. That's for sure. Look at this. I mean, is this AI? I don't know. Probably. All right. Mega ETH. Streaming Ethereum. 100K TPS, or transactions per second. Gone are the days of 6 to 10 minute blocks on Bitcoin. Gone are the days of 13 TPS on Ethereum. Mega ETH is going to be upon us. Shout out to the rabbits, to those who hold the Fluffles NFT. I in a way I don't want them to launch. Unless they plan a really big, I mean this is 8 days before ETH Denver. Unless they're planning some really big party. Much like Barachain did. I just don't know if this is the best time for it. I'll be honest. I mean, Monad's out. Monad isn't quite as popping as we thought it would be. Will Mega ETH meet the same fate? What I will say is that Mega ETH has to launch before Arc. It also has to launch before Tempo. If it's gonna be gaining a lot of traction, in my opinion, because a lot of people will be very interested in Arc, which is from Circle, and Tempo, which is from Stripe. So, I mean, it's got to happen. I'll be curious to see what happens here. Does 100k TPS even matter anymore? That's another question you have to ask. Look at all these comments. Is it September or February? Oh, I get it. Because of all the international people. All you lovely people who go day, month, year. Let me get a shout out to all those people. Say hello in the chat if you're a DDMMYYY person. All right. What was left today? A couple of things I want to talk about today. So it's really unfortunate that we had that I was a doofus and I left my VPN on, which really tanked everything. So this is a hyperliquid play. This is on markets, which is from Kinetic through HIP3 on hyperliquid. They are just calling it silver and gold, which is fine. These are perps. These are not spot assets. But you can go to markets.xyz, and you can look at a lot of things with margin. With leverage that you can take out on quite a few things. There's equities. Let's go with commodities. Silver, gold, oil, energy. Launching soon. So if you would like some access to these types of derivatives, you can head to markets.xyz. They are not sponsoring this stream. But this is the beauty of HIP3 with Hyperliquid, the ability for builders to bring their own perps markets using Hyperliquid Core's rails. We're going to start seeing things like this. Now, I don't believe that the Pokemon or Whiskey platform is coming anymore. I think there is an issue with that. But we will see some type of special commodities coming on chain soon. And again, if you like what you're hearing, you can check out Total Value Locked, school.com/beacon. That is the host of the show for the namesake podcast, Total Value Locked, school.com/beacon. And I don't have a thing here. I apologize. It's on the other profile that I normally use for this. But school.com, skool.com/beacon. You also just go to my, I believe it's on my creator homepage. My creator homepage, flix.fun @csoriano. You can check out all the things that I do as a DeFi professor. Oh, maybe not. A couple things I did want to talk about. I now have a dedicated YouTube channel that's not partnered. My personal one is. This one is not. I have a TikTok, and I have a Zora, as you all know, and I have an Instagram, as well as the DeFi Professor. If you'd like to follow me on any of those platforms, please do. We'd appreciate your support. Thanks again to Toady Hawk and Betterment for the support. I had a Betterment round last Friday on this post. 10 ways to stay safe on chain in 2026. It did really well, guys. Really got up to 1.22K in market cap at some point. Normally, when I was looking at holders, uh, normally I get, sometimes I'll get like 10, but this one had like hundreds, and it was very, very overwhelming. The support, just so thankful to Betterment and their support. The opportunity, of course, out to Rachel Wilkins at Creator Fi for getting me that opportunity to even be in that position. Please send this out. Check out Beat the Banks. That's our Friday. That's the Friday community training that I do every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. I did a live stream last Friday specifically on this. If you look in the comments, there's an actual link to my Twitter post where that was the case. But the whole point of this is to give you 10 tips to, for the most part, straightforward ways to stay safe and here on chain. I'll be honest, it's no different than what I normally talk about. But these are 10 things I think is probably, if you just kind of boil it down, probably the easiest ways to stay safe. So if you want to buy a coin just to show some support, that's great. If you just want to buy my creator coin period to support me, would greatly appreciate that as well. And that's at Zora.co. at the DeFi Professor. So yeah, the DeFi Professor on, I want to say 4-5 different platforms now. Looks like people are selling. It is what it is. But yeah, market cap has been great. It was over 40 at some point over the weekend. But yeah, my goal to you is to try and give as much value to token holders as possible. I'm looking to open a couple of things to people who buy a specific amount. I think it's very small. It was gated at 1 million tokens, which really is not that much. It's like $20. But people who give some support, I'm happy to give some value back. Some of my time, guides, all that kind of stuff. I'm also working on a set of ebooks. Right now there's the plans for 6 of them. The first one's called "So You Want to Be a Crypto Investor," I think is the actual title for it. It's going to be on a Gumroad store that I'm creating, and the whole idea is that, just for supporting me, my target audience with this stuff is not. It could be you, but it's really for those people who, frankly, don't want anything to do with crypto, but don't realize the opportunities that are ahead of them, right? Like the fact that, for example, if I wanted to go to Morpho, for example, which is the backing for Coinbase's loans, for the most part. Let's go to base. $6.41. It's not that great. It's not bad, right? Oi. Come on. Weather.finance. Wow, Centaur PYUSD is 8% on ETH mainnet for supply. It's not bad. How about for earn? 4.25, almost 4.17 on mainnet. What are we looking at on Arbitrum? My goodness, 12% right now, guys. So this is what we call our digital savings account. So this is not a sustainable rate. It's not one that's going to stay this rate, but super high utilization here on the lending market, which will lead to the idea that, and I'll talk more about this on Friday, the idea that you can supply an asset like a stablecoin like USDC, earn a significant amount of compounded yield, which is compounded daily on your money. Like in this case, 6.48%. I can tell you right now, I love my credit union. I love Navy Federal. 0.025. on my savings account, nothing on my checking account, right? I am never going to earn this because the bank wants to earn that instead. They will take your money, put out loans on it, rehypothecate into the system. You have no idea where it's going. They make 6%, you get nada. Nothing in checking, but if you have a savings account, maybe 0.025. And to open that account, they need all your information, right? Got to go into it. You have to go into a thing. They're going to ask for your driver's license, ask all these questions about you, that type of thing. Set everything up. This way, it's all just there. You're in almost 6.5%. Auto compounding, daily. This is the stuff that the book is going to try and unlock the mindset for. It's not how to do it, because people don't realize this is on the table. Now, 5 years ago, I would be very skeptical just like you. In fact, I was when I first came in. I did nothing for the first 45 days because I wanted to understand how it all worked. What unlocked the power of DeFi for me was this model. It was at Aave. But at Aave back then, on Polygon, for Ether, USDC, whatever it was, not only were you being paid to supply your liquidity like this, plus incentives, you were being paid to borrow because of incentives. They're trying to get people to use the app. So for quite some time, we ate super good on Polygon, because not only would we, borrow money, we would loop it and get amazing returns. I don't know how they're looking today, but 89% on some of these. BTC ETH 134. This is leverage though, just to keep that in mind. No, it's not for the faint of heart. But still, these are great rates. And this is available in DeFi. This is on Arbitrum, one of the best layer 2s on the planet. Now, should you put all your money in this? No. You shouldn't put all your money in anything. You should diversify the bag. But if you want great risk-adjusted return in a system that's battle-tested now for 5+ years with smart contracts in a world where they can't manipulate the books, decentralized finance and blockchain investing on-chain is the best way for you to get the best risk-adjusted return in the space. You want that mentorship? You want to learn more about it? Hit me up on Beacon DeFi. Otherwise, you can keep watching these streams, support me so I can keep making this content. And yeah, just wanted to go through the news because I didn't get a chance to do so because it was bad. It was so bad in terms of what I couldn't do. I did want to shout out Uche real quick. Uche2V is his handle on Twitter. Please check out that. Check out his podcast, Darknet Espresso. And yeah, thank him very much. We'll have him on panel back another time. We'll have a different panel on next week. But do check out, did he pin something? He did. He had something else too, where he did a survey on privacy and a 3-part thing on how he thinks. Oh, look at that. He reposted me. How nice. You'll just have to kind of search for it. He did a thing where he's a huge Starknet person. So talking about privacy on blockchains, a very good series. Definitely you should check that out. So support Uche, great creator out in Nigeria. Very thankful for him, actually. Great person. And I realize you cannot see that because, again, Ecamm just kind of stuck. Yes, Uche2V is his handle here on the tweeters, on the X. All right. Well, that's all I got for you today. Just wanted to do after the show because I didn't get a chance to really talk about a lot of... we ended up talking more about concepts, about blockchains, about privacy, thoughts on that type of stuff, which was great. It was good to actually talk about that because I don't talk about all that often. And frankly, I don't think Uche did either because he's normally the one doing the questions because he hosts that podcast and he asks a lot of builders a lot of questions. So to go through a lot of concepts, learn more about how DeFi works and stuff like that is really DFDV. So I'll be back on I'll be back on Friday. I might work. I might do something tomorrow. I'm trying to do what the DeFi professor, shtick. I wanted to do like a call-in show called Office Hours, but maybe we can do that with interviews too. Because today was more of an interview format. I really enjoyed that. I have a lot of people in my network that I could interview for this podcast for Office Hours, so it'd be good to actually maybe start that up. Just had a couple people in my DMs ask about, the idea of starting a podcast on another topic anyway, so we'll see. Anyway, take care. Thanks for the support. Hope you found value. We'll see you for the next show. If anything, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern for Beat the Banks, our community live stream. We'll see you then. Take care. Keep breathing. I'm allergic to everything.